please join me in welcoming John Nance.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, for that gracious introduction, and good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be back in Orange County. Flying for Alaska Airlines, going in and out of John Wayne Airport has been just an endemic thing. I'm sure you all have flown out of John Wayne. Has anybody not flown out of John Wayne Airport? All right, yeah, you know the shuttle takeoff that I'm talking about, right? I used to have to brief the passengers as a captain ahead of time that this was going to be a continuation of your Disneyland experience. We roll down the runway, yank it up to about a 26-degree deck angle, climb like mad to 1,000 feet, push the nose over, turn the engines off essentially, and glide out so that Newport Beach won't know that there's actually an airport nearby. And suddenly there's a knock on the cockpit door. Now, this is a long time before 9/11. Nobody's worried. But there's a little peephole on the door like what you have in your hotel room door. And the guy who's closest to the door is the second officer, also known as the flight engineer. And he looks at the captain with a puzzled expression. And the captain shrugs, which is what they teach us to do if you don't know the answer. But that's airline pilot finishing school 101. At any rate, the second officer gets up and looks through the peephole, and there is a guy in a three-piece business suit standing on the other side of the door. And he doesn't look too lethal, so he opens the door a little bit and says, "Sir, can I help you?" Now, in the meantime, the airplane is at about a 15-degree deck angle on climb out. So, the flight engineer is down like this, and the guy outside is like this. And he says, "Yeah," he says, I hate to bother you. I know you're busy." And he says, "Yes, sir, we're flying the airplane." And he says, "But I wonder, when you get a chance, could you come back and tell us how to make coffee?" Flight engineer says, "No, sir, we're the pilots. We fly the airplane. The flight attendants will take care of that." The guy says, "Yeah, I thought you were going to say that." He says, "Son, I don't know how to tell you this. There are no flight attendants." Because the phrase that was the most dangerous for us is the one that is the most dangerous for you, and the one that's been the most dangerous in medicine and throughout industry. We've built most of our industry in the United States pragmatically, incorrectly, based on, to a certain extent, the inertia behind this phrase. Quote, "This is the way we've always done it," end quote. Sound familiar? By the way, there is a favorite phrase of mine in aviation that's even worse, one that you don't ever want to hear your pilot say. Quote, "Watch this," end quote. That's... Here, hold my coffee, watch this. That's, you don't want to hear that. We had a bunch of iconoclastic captains whose attitude was, this stuff is for sissies. I'm not about to do this. Matter of fact, we had a course that was given to American Airlines. United started this, but American decided they're going to go out and hire a psychologist. So they hire a very nice psychologist who comes in and has a bunch of senior captains and senior first officers sit in a room for 3 days, hold hands, and get in touch with their feelings. Can you imagine where that went? We had senior gray-haired cappies coming out of there saying, just white hot mad, "I don't care if they fire me, I am not holding hands with my co-pilot on final approach." So one of the things we had to do was turn to the subordinates and say, it's not a matter of we hope you'll speak up and you have the license to. It's a matter of you will speak up. You can go fly for somebody else because you're not going to fly here. You will speak up immediately, and the leader has to maintain that atmosphere. Now, did you know that there's an actual statistic? 12.5% of the time, human beings using the same language, the same vernacular, with the same educational level, do not understand what each other is saying. This is a fact, and that's just starting at the base level. Have you ever heard the phrase, "I know you think you understood what you thought I said, but I'm not sure you realize that what you heard was not what I meant"? Now, come on, anybody in here who's married understands this, right? They were struggling. They were betting the company on being able to design the first jetliner and making it successful. And I mean, they really did bet the company on it. One day, I know there are a lot of engineers in this audience, so you'll understand what I'm saying here, because engineers, as you know, you guys and gals, when you're in school, there's a point at which they kind of put you through a bit of a lobotomy, right? And it's the idea, and I don't mean that meanly. I mean, I'm a lawyer. We do the same thing. After the second year, they put us through a little lobotomy. We can no longer ever answer a yes or no question. You ever tried that with a lawyer? What, would you like to go to lunch, Phil? Well, it depends. Are you hungry or not? With you guys and gals who are engineers, it's the idea that if you work hard enough, if you just stay up with everything, if you're right at the top of your game, you can eventually not only get to the point of making no mistakes, but you can get the world to stay ordered. You can get it built exactly like it's designed. Can you imagine the might and the majesty of the Boeing company designing a chicken gun? This isn't going to work. So in true engineering fashion, they labeled it a linear foul accelerator. Guys over, they go out to the factory, watch a test firing. When they peel themselves up off the linoleum floor and stop laughing, one of them, literally wiping tears from his eyes, says, you know, someplace in that tech order, I think we forgot to tell you something. He says, oh, what's that? First, you have to thaw the chickens. I know this is startling. I mean, you know, I say this facetiously, but in effect, it still is startling because every single person in this room and in our overflow room over there, anybody watching this as a tape later on has to say to himself or herself, you know, you're right. I am supposed to be perfect in my job. And who's the hardest on me? I am. Professionals are always brutal to themselves about perfect performance. When I did that little briefing, I get out to the airplane, I put my new guy up on the flight deck. He would normally ride down in this windowless cabin, put a headset on him, and I said, now, son, I really want you to promise me that you're going to talk, you're going to speak. I mean, forget the rank. He says, yes, sir, if you give me the order to do so, I will. I said, I am. Cleared to 17,000 feet. We also call it 17,000. We're climbing like a missile because we're so light. We're talking to Seattle Center, climbing northbound towards Seattle, coming through 14,000 feet. I hear a click in my headset. And this timorous little voice that I instantly recognize as my newbie says, pilot, loadmaster, 14,100, 14,200. I'm thinking, hey, listen, this is great, 14,300. Go ahead, load, this is the pilot, 14,400, 14,500. Sir, 14,600. I'm probably wrong, 14,700. But I could have sworn they only cleared us to 15,000, 14,800. I look at my co-pilot, he's all over it. Seattle Mac 50235, we're cleared to 17,000, 17,000, roger. 14,900, 14,950. Voice of the controller comes back. Negative Mac, you're cleared to 15. Good Lord, pull the power back. Push the airplane over. 0G, everybody out in the back. This is NASA vomit comet style. I mean, they are off the seats in the back. I get her stopped at 15,000 feet. Heart rate's off the chart. I'm thinking, where can I buy this kid the biggest steak in Anchorage? And suddenly I noticed that my co-pilot is looking up and looking very concerned, and I follow his gaze and understand immediately why. Because we're looking at the belly of a Boeing 747-200 owned by Northwest Orient Airlines with 336 folks aboard. I call later and check. He is 16,000 feet. 1,000 feet above me, I would have climbed right into his belly, and we would have rained people in parts all over South Seattle. I wouldn't be standing here, but you'd remember the thing that makes this work. A line build, design build, is the coordination of teamwork around one thing. Getting human beings to put a spot on that wall and saying, this is what we're trying to accomplish and we're going to do it together. And getting rid of all the garbage that keeps us apart. I think it was Einstein that said the belief in our separateness is an illusion. And boy, that's true in anything that we do in the way of construction, in the way of flying, in the way of anything that's critical that has bad outcomes if you don't do it right. It is a real privilege for me to be able to come and speak to you today, and I thank you very much for listening.